Let's talk about CQS, Command Query Separation. Command Query Separation is a term first formulated by Bertrand Meyer. Bertrand Meyer is the creator of the programming language Eiffel and also the notion of design by contract, which is native in the programming language Eiffel. Command query separation essentially states that you should separate your queries from your commands. Kind of intuitive name, right? But what does that actually mean? Let's first get it clear that what we are talking about is methods. In other words, that methods should not mix command operations with query operations. So, command query separation is not a concept that is specific to object-oriented programming. It could be applicable in more paradigms. But what does it actually mean? So a query is when a method is asking some kind of question. A command is when a method is performing some kind of action. So a query is when a method is asking something and you retrieve a value back from the method. In other words, the method returns something. A command, on the other hand, is when a method performs some kind of action. Let's be less ambiguous. You may already have realized that this is about mutation. So queries do not mutate the state of your application, whereas commands do mutate the state of your application. So in other words, this is about separating the methods that mutate the state of your application from the methods that don't. So what is the point of separating commands from queries? There are probably many reasons, and given that it's originally formulated by Bertrand Meyer, I'm sure there's a very smart reason behind it. But one more trivial reason is that it makes it easier to reason about your code. Now, in what sense do we mean that? If you've separated commands from queries, then you will trivially know when you're calling a method without digging into the method whether that particular method will be mutating state or not. So you will know which methods that you can call safely because they won't change the state of the application. This is one reason to why I'm very fond of using the exclamation mark when I'm programming in Ruby. So if I'm not mistaken, there are many methods in the sort of core library that is suffixed with the exclamation point to denote that that particular method will be mutating state. Now, as far as I know, that's unfortunately not consistent throughout the whole core library, but I find it to be a very excellent idea. So in my own code bases, I use that to its full extent. So whenever I have a method that is mutating state, in other words, whenever I have a command method, I make sure to suffix the method name with an exclamation point so that users of the method will surely know that this method is, quotation marks, dangerous to call because it will mutate state. And conversely, that will tell the user of my methods that if they are using a method that isn't suffixed with an exclamation point, then they know that they can safely call it without having to worry about whether it will mutate state or not. So to make your code easier to reason about, be sure to separate command methods from query methods. Or in other words, make sure that your methods are not mixing the two things. In other words, make sure that you don't have methods that are both performing command operations and returning results. In other words, acting like a query operation. Make up your mind and stick to it. So this does, of course, sound super sensible. It sounds like a fairly trivial thing to do. But then there are some edge cases. Martin Fowler, the author of Refactoring, has famously said on his website that he's willing to break the principle in order to get the pop method. You know, pop on a stack. Because if you pop on a stack, then you are performing a query because you are getting the element, but you're also mutating state because you are changing the contents of the stack. In other words, you are then performing a command. So there are these edge cases. And these edge cases, I think, beg for another discussion because I would like to make specific videos talking about command query separation in relation to events, in relation to promises, and I'd like to dig into this particular stack example, but we'll do this some other time. So thanks for watching, and as usual, be sure to subscribe if you want more code talks like this. Let me also take the opportunity to say that I've received quite a few subscriptions lately, and I just want to say thank you. It means the world to me. So if you have any ideas or thoughts about topics that you would want to have discussed on this channel, do not hesitate in contacting me any way possible and letting me know that that would be an interesting topic to discuss. Thank you for subscribing. I'll see you in the next one.